Hey, what's up my peeps, and welcome back to Island Tries the Internet. It is a rainy day here today, which is nice, but also if the lighting's weird, let me know, because it's raining. It looks fine, but I don't know. Let me know. So, also you'll probably be greeted by rain noises in the background, so that's fun. Anyways, to the topic of today's video. A while ago, a month ago, I don't know, I have no concept of time, I did a video on Classically Abby, and it did wonderfully, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. But anyways, I thought, that did really well, and I went and popped over to her channel to see if she did anything else questionable for me to look at, and lucky for me, she did. So today we'll be looking at a different video. This one is titled, Feminists Want You to Feel Guilty for Staying Home. Don't let them. I'm intrigued by this premise, mainly because I find that, I align with a lot of feminist things. I don't know if I call myself a feminist per se. I feel like I am, but the term's kind of a bit loaded nowadays, so I'd say I align with a lot of pro-women things. Let's see what she has to say about what feminists are saying, because I don't know, what are they doing to you personally? So, if you like this video and you want to see me cover more Classically Abby or more channels like that, leave it a like and click subscribe down below and turn on the bell icon. That way you get notified of whenever I make videos, which is typically Friday or Saturday, but if you put the bell icon on, you get notified. And to all those who are already subscribed, hello, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're subscribed. It's happy to see you again this week. Yeah, hope you're having a good day. Drink some water, self-care. So, yeah, let's see what she has to say about this. I'm pro-independent women, but I'm not against women staying home, so I don't know what she aligns with this, so we'll check it out and we'll talk about it, because I think if she's able to throw her hat in the ring and get thousands of views, that I should also be able to say something as an argument opposing or agreeing. Who knows? Maybe I'll agree. I have a feeling, considering her last video, that I probably won't, but I shouldn't judge right off the bat. Okay. Also, if you want to see me cover other creators you think are questionable or that I might have opposing beliefs to, leave that in the comments down below and I'll make sure to check them out. I like to see recommendations from people about different things.
About how women who want to stay at home and who have figured out that staying at home would make them happier feel like feminism has sold them out or has made them feel guilty for actually wanting to stay at home more. And it's something that I think is a really important topic, especially in 2021. I really want to chat about it with you today and talk about why it's natural for women to want to stay at home. Now, I'm not saying that...
We're gonna pause right there. Natural. Something I don't like to use. That's a word I don't like to use with a lot of things, because natural infers that anything opposing to that is not good. In the same way that the terminology for the LGBTQ community, there's straight and then there's everybody else. That's a bit weird. So along those same lines, I don't quite agree with the term natural. Just as an English major, perhaps, I look into words very deeply, and that word tends to not be used in a positive aspect when relating to people. So if you're going to make an argument about how you think one thing, how both people, someone who stays at home and somebody who is an independent working woman, both have the right to do that, let's not start by saying one of them's more natural than the other. Just a little argument 101 right there.
About how feminism is actually hurting women on their path to happiness. So what I want to talk about is the idea that feminism has told women that there's a wage gap, that they've been oppressed, that they have to be in the workplace because other women before us have fought for that. And when women kind of start to realize that maybe they don't find their happiness through work as much, or maybe they want to work part-time rather than full-time. And after investing all of this time into an education, that they decide that maybe they're happier at home, women feel trapped. They feel like they've done something wrong, and they feel like they're betraying their sex by actually wanting to be mothers or stay-at-home moms. I don't think it used to be as controversial to say that having your priorities in order is a good thing, that putting your faith and your...
Okay, let's stop right there as well. I like the point that she makes. She said, well, of course, you don't have to be somebody who is a working woman. You don't have to be somebody that stays at home. I agree with that. Women are allowed to be who they want to be. Everyone has different priorities, I think is what she said. But the way that she said, it's just the way that she tackles this problem and the terminology she uses that makes it a bit uncomfortable to agree with her in certain aspects. Like a period of my life where my mom was just a stay-at-home mom, and I thought it was incredible. She helped out with she was in PTA doing stuff like that, but she didn't have like a job because it wasn't needed to. But I mean, she never said anything about feeling pressured like this. Granted, she did feel like she always wanted to do more, so maybe that's something like that. But I think it's interesting that she brings up the fact that people setting precedents and fighting for things makes you feel lesser because you're doing something, in her terms, more traditional. But by stating that you shouldn't be mad at women just because they have their priorities in order. Like, you shouldn't say that when you're trying to say that both are good. If you're saying both are good, again, she's using the terminology that one is better because you're putting your priorities in order rather than going to work, which is not putting your priorities in order. That's following a foolish dream or something along those lines. Those aren't her words, those are my words, but that seems like what she's wanting to say.
And your community over your work is actually kind of natural, and it's more natural
Again, with natural, putting your faith, your family ahead of work is more natural. It seems like at the beginning her attempt was to make the argument that both are good, but one is seen as lesser at the moment because of feminism. Like, you shouldn't argue for equality by raising one up. Does that make sense? Unless that one is like super oppressed.
There should be no shame for women who decide that they are actually happier at home and that they don't want to go back to work after having children, or that they want to work part-time rather than full-time, or that they don't actually want to pursue a career to its highest extent. Something that we're constantly sold by the feminist narrative is that there's a glass ceiling and that women can't actually get to the top levels of their careers because they're not being allowed to by an oppressive patriarchy. This is actually not the case, and it's been proven to be false. Women find success more holistically than that. They don't find...
Okay, we're going to pause right there with a blanket statement without any proof or evidence. So as far as I've seen, I mean, it seems to me like, considering there's a wage gap and considering the percentage of people in high up positions that are women compared to men, it seems like there is a disparity there. But I mean, if she is saying that I am wrong in this line of thinking, which, I mean, I've just been raised this way, so I mean, I'm willing to admit I'm wrong if I'm wrong. But if she's going to make a blanket statement about something that has been fairly founded and believed in for a little bit, about the glass ceiling, please link your proof. Because if you're going to try to disprove something well-founded, then I expect a foundation. You understand? Like, say, well, according to this article, this study, that doesn't actually seem to be the case. So I'm not going to right off the bat say she's wrong or she's right, because I can't provide proof of on either side, and that's fine to say, I think. But I'm just noting that if she is going to make a statement as, like, deliberate and suppose in her frame what should be powerful, then you should include sources.
peak. Many women realize that if they were to get to the highest level of their careers, they would have to leave behind other things that they love and that make them happy and that bring them fulfillment. They may have to spend less time at home and less time with their children. And so many women choose not to get to the highest level of their careers. It's not that they're being held back by the patriarchy. They're actually choosing to do what brings them fulfillment. I know and
it seems like she's kind of leaving men out of the argument and focusing on women and more traditional values, such as finding fulfillment through staying home. And it just feels like she's not focusing enough on the women that don't want to stay home. Granted, this is her main argument, is that she said she was going to focus on mainly women who are want to be stay-at-home people. But, I mean, that's also focusing on like a very heteronormative stuff. Like the idea that a man and a woman family, and then that the woman will want to stay home, etc. Which kind of leaves out a lot of the LGBTQ community as a little bit of a side note, but I don't entirely know her views on that stuff, so.
I remember when I got married to Jacob, I felt this huge pull towards wanting to change the trajectory of my career because I knew I wanted to be able to spend more time with him and I wanted to be able to spend more time with our future children. And all of a sudden, the things that I cared about so intensely before I actually got married didn't seem to matter as much anymore. And it wasn't anyone telling me this. That's what's so interesting. No one else was pressuring me. This was an internal pull that I started to feel, and I felt so bad. I felt wrong.
I think when she mentions this, there seems to be, I mean, she's mentioning guilt in terms of wanting to stay home versus wanting to work. And I think that guilt goes both ways. I think she's kind of forgetting that the guilt kind of goes both ways, and that a lot of times women are kind of torn because it's like, I feel guilty for not spending enough time with my family and my loved ones, but I also feel guilty for not trying to reach the highest I can go and be the best I can be at a career. So I want to mention that while she says that she felt guilt for this, that also a lot of women feel guilt for not staying home too. So I don't know if one over the other feels more guilty about things. I just want to say it goes both ways.
It is not wrong. It is the most natural thing in the world for women.
It's the most natural thing in the world for women to want to have kids and stay at home. Stop saying natural. You're creating a huge problem within your argument by saying that one is the most natural thing in the world, and then there's the other one, which I feel guilty for not doing. Like, I feel like just stop saying natural, because when you say that it's the most natural thing in the world for people to want to stay home with their family and stuff, it just creates a problem for thinking that you can go and do work and not have a family. Not every woman has a family in the aspect of like having kids and a husband. You know? Like, not every woman finds that as their priority, so you saying that it's the most natural thing in the world is problematic, and you shouldn't say that if you're trying to make an argument that they're both good for women.
Feminists will tell you that they are only fighting for women to be able to do whatever they want, whether that be in the workplace or stay at home. But the fact of the matter is that feminists will also tell women who want to stay at home and who want to really embrace womanhood and motherhood that they have internalized misogyny, and that the reason they want to stay at home is because their brains have been brainwashed and co-opted to believe what the patriarchy wants them to believe, which is that they can't succeed outside of the home, and so they should be in the home.
I think this is an interesting argument. I mean, I'm on the side of feminists that you can be who you want to be as a woman. If that makes you happy, then that's good. I'm not here to tell anybody to do anything, really. Do what makes you happy is the only thing I will tell you to do. But I think in terms of the feminist movement saying that these people, are they distinctly saying they're brainwashed, because I mean, from what I've experienced and what I've read about, a lot of things are mentioning like internalized misogyny as something you should be aware of and something that you should counteract if you think it is affecting your life in that way, and that you're not actually happy at home. It's just something that you've grown up believing that you were going to do the whole time. So I think it's something you should be aware of, but I don't think people are being brainwashed by anything. I don't know who's saying that people have been brainwashed. I haven't heard somebody be like, women are brainwashed to stay at home. But again, I'm only 21, so I haven't experienced a whole lot of the world yet to say.
Because feminists want to believe that men and women are the same, it makes sense that they're going to encourage women to find their happiness through economic success. But the fact is that men and women are different. Many women find more fulfillment in motherhood than they do in the workplace. And accepting that men and women are different is not a bad thing. It's incredibly fundamental. So it's really important.
So she's talking about how feminists try to treat men and women as equal, but that they're very different. I find a little bit of issue with this, mainly because I've been working on like studies and stuff about gender perception and the way that, like, for race, it's important to recognize that there's a lot of different experiences among different races, and it's interesting to see if that translates to like men versus women as well, or if it's a different kind of psychological kind of attribute that should be attributed there in order to reduce prejudice and judgment. I think what was found from the study that I was doing was that it was actually more problematic to say that they're different because it enables a little bit of kind of like stereotyping, if that makes sense. Like a lot of the time they'll be like, well, it's just because men and women are very different. Men are like this, men are like strong, etc. Women are more emotional. So a lot of times that kind of leads to more stereotyping if you treat women as like strictly, but of course there's a little bit of a balance and a caveat in life where it's like sometimes there is differences in experiences, and the fact that a lot of women choose to have kids, which is not a possibility for men to have. So, I mean, that's an experience you could say that is definitely different. But by supporting the narrative that they're different in every way, or in a lot of ways, then it kind of supports the narrative of prejudice and treating women as all the same. Because it's much more beneficial to say that every person is different rather than men and women are different. I think this is a personal thought. But if you say every person is different, because some men might want to stay home, some women might want to stay home, some men might want to work a lot, some women might want to work a lot. Everyone finds joy in different things that they do. So I think by treating it that way, it's a little bit more beneficial than strictly saying men and women are very different in a lot of aspects, because that kind of enables you to have different treatment in the workplace and things like that.
Do you want to get something clear right off the bat? I do not believe that women have to stay at home. And this is something I have said on my channel 100 times. So anyone who accuses me of saying that women need to be at home, they're...
I think the way you present your argument is a lot more telling of how you feel rather than you saying that you think they're equivalent.
My mom, she actually worked her way up from being a secretary to being the vice president of a company. And she's an incredible woman. She was incredibly high-powered throughout my childhood. And the reason is because my mom had her priorities in order. And that's how she was able to accomplish this holistic success. She had an incredible career, but she always put faith, family, and community first. My mom...
Priorities in order. Well, just when you say that, it really undermines your argument that both are good. I mean, you're saying that your mom was great mainly because, and she was a high-powered woman, mainly because she treated her job like it wasn't as important as other things, but that she also still did well in the workspace. I mean, it's just a little bit of a counterproductive argument you're making, because you're giving a great example of somebody working up from secretary to a vice president position and then kind of downplaying it by saying, well, the reason I didn't know she was so awesome was because she had her priorities in order. Like, every woman's priority should be to stay at home, have faith, and get a husband. Like, those are priorities. Let's forget a lot of women that don't find those as priorities. Mainly people in the LGBTQ community, anyone who is atheist or something a little more lax religiously. Also, just people who don't want to have a family in that aspect. And in some cases, it's not possible to have those as your priorities when, like, let's say you're a single mother who has to work and support your family. You're not gonna, a lot of times it's really difficult to do that. And a lot of times you end up missing some more family things because you need to have enough money to support your family. But by you stating that is her not taking that's her way of not taking things as her priority, is, I think she just neglects to think about different experiences across the board.
Bring up the idea that women are oppressed and they are not given the same opportunities as men. I don't really believe it. The studies show that women are in college at greater percentages than men are, and that many women don't pursue the careers that they get their degrees in because women don't actually want to get that high in their careers. But there's such pushback for stating the obvious, that pursuing one thing doesn't necessarily make you happy, that you often need more than that to actually find fulfillment. And it makes prioritizing motherhood and family feel like a mistake, feel like you've done something wrong when you haven't. It's obvious that women should have the opportunity to pursue a career that they find meaning in and that they are passionate about.
I think one thing she's also neglecting to mention is, again, the role of men in the family. Like, the role of a woman shouldn't be entirely focused on, like, family. I mean, I suppose if that makes you happy, then go ahead, focus entirely on family. But in a lot of cases, women are kind of held back by being the only one contributing to family things, when there should be a balance on both parties, considering both parties are involved in, like, making children and raising children. They should both be involved, which I think she's neglecting to mention here. It makes it seem like she's saying that the woman's role is strictly to take care of the family, whereas the man just does whatever, like a woman. So I think she's feeling a lot of pushback from feminists, but I think the main pushback that she's feeling is men, because perhaps there's not a balance there, which makes it impossible. If there's not a balance between both parties and raising kids and creating a family, etc., then it is very difficult to pursue multiple things at once. But if you are able to split the responsibilities between parties, then it makes it a lot easier for women to do more than just be with the family while also doing great things, if that makes sense. My goodness, rain. It's like a hurricane happening. So I think that was the final ending point, is just, find happiness in what you want to, but it's more natural to be a mother. Like, not every woman wants to be a mother. Not every woman pursues a straight relationship. I mean, I think she's leaving out a lot in her argument in terms of collecting everyone. She leaves men out of the argument entirely, which is really interesting to talk about feminist perspectives, but then also completely leave out men. When her argument, I think, like, a lot of it relies on looking at the role of men in your family, in your life, and things like that, considering she's looking at just straight relationships. So just something to think about, which is really interesting. I think the way that she structures her arguments and the way that she uses terminology and blanket statements undermines a lot of what she seems like she wants to say, but she just doesn't get the point across very well. That she's like, I want everyone to be happy, but also I've made these points as to why this is like better because you're prioritizing things, and while you're going against guilt on the end of people staying at home, you're making people feel guilty for pursuing work because you make it seem like they don't have their priorities in order. She's like, you could do this too, but the women that aren't working are the ones that have their priorities straight. And their priorities should be faith, community, and a straight relationship with kids. So I think she just forgets that there's a diverse amount of people in the world. So yeah, that's all. I hope you liked the video. Again, if you liked the video, leave a like so I know I could do more videos like this to help get you through this apparent rainy season. Hope the rain wasn't too distracting. Let me know if it was so that I could try to fix that during other videos, or just not record in the rain maybe. But yeah, hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye!